In order to get a design into your machine, there are two ways that you can actually do it. One way is by using a floppy. The floppy drive is right here. You just take your floppy and push it in. To get the floppy out, you push the button after you've loaded the design, and that comes out. The other way that you can get a design in is by using a USB drive. There's a door here. You just push. It'll pop open. And at the top, there are two USB ports. Just take your drive and push it in, and you can load your design from there. We're going to talk a little bit about this control unit and the different parts to it. The first part that you have is your LCD screen, and that's right in here. The LCD screen shows you a picture of your design. You also have function keys, and those function keys do different things. They have menus behind them, and right above each function key it will tell you what the menu is. They have additional menus behind there, and we'll talk about them shortly. You also have a start button, which starts your machine sewing. You have a stop button, which will stop the machine from sewing. You also have a number keypad. The number keypad is useful in putting in numbers of your spools of thread, as well as rotating your design 180 degrees. You would type that in as well. You also have frame movement buttons. The frame movement buttons will move your tubular frame forward, backwards, left, and right. You have a function or a frame speed button, and the frame speed button, the speed of the frame is shown right here. It says mid, and you can use it to go to high speed or to go to low speed. This controls the speed that your frame moves in. You also have a button in here called all. This controls the laser going on and off. So as I push it, the laser comes on, and if I push it again, the laser goes off. We also have a button called org escape. The escape button actually takes you out of a menu that you're in and brings you to a previous menu. If I were to press the F3 button, which is my settings menu, and I made a mistake, I needed another menu, my org escape button would take me out of that menu and bring me back. The next button that we have on here is called the set button. The set button actually accepts something that you chose. So if I make a choice on a menu and press set, it will load that design, for example, into the menu. The last two buttons are your speed buttons. You can speed up the rate the machine is sewing, or you can slow it down. And there are different speeds for different garments and for different types of material, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The next part of your screen is called the work information screen, and that's located right in this area. At the very top, you do have an option of putting in a date and a time. You'll find information on how to do that in your owner's manual. Right below that, you'll have a number, you'll have a design name, and you'll also have a number here, a number sign, the design name, and a number, and that just tells you the name of the design and what location in memory it holds. You also have the total number of stitches that are in that design. Below that, you'll see a little picture of a clown, and what this information is telling you is from the center of the design, how far out you're going, as well as how tall the design is, how wide. So that's what those numbers are showing. It is showing it to you in millimeters. Below that, you'll see a little color palette, and that's just telling you how many colors are currently in the design that we're going to sew. And below that, there's a little guy doing a ski jump. That's just telling you how many jumps you have in that design. Does not mean jump stitches. It means how many times the machine actually jumps from one location to another to begin sewing again. Directly to the right of the color palette, you'll have a P, and it will also tell you a number. In this case, it's 180. This is telling me that this design has been rotated 180 degrees so that it can sew on a cap, or it can sew upside down on a garment. Below that is your X and Y, and right now they're set at 100%. This is used for resizing a design, so it's a good idea. Whatever you do to X, you should also do to Y, and that way your design does not sew out distorted. Below that and to the left, you have a little spool of thread, and there are two numbers underneath that. This just indicates the color of the thread that's about to sew, as well as what's the next color that's going to sew. To the right of that, you have your mid. This also goes low and it goes high, and that's your frame movement speed. To the right of that, you have a little org button, and it's circled in green. Your machine has a default setting that automatically goes back to the center point of your design or the design start point. As long as that button is circled in green, it means that that default is set to yes. If it's gray, it means it's defaulted to no, and you would literally have to move the frame back after sewing every single garment. So it's a good idea to leave that set to yes. The right of that is a little fixed button. Now that also has green on there, and that just refers to the wheel in the back of the machine, and as long as it's set to 100, that is going to be circled in green. If it's sewing, it's not going to stay on 100, so that button will consistently turn gray. So it's gray when it's sewing, and it's green when it's not sewing. Below that is EMB time, and all this is going to do is it's going to show in hours and minutes how long it takes a design to sew out. Below that, you have the cumulative number of stitches. Now this cumulative number of stitches is very good. It's a good feature to have if you're doing production sewing, or if you're not doing production sewing and you don't care about the stitch count, you can literally use that for your oiling purposes. To the right it says 3 work. That's how many different jobs have been sewn on this machine. Now each work, doesn't matter how many times that single design has been sewn, it still counts as 1 work or 1 job. This refers to the frame movement. As you move your frame up and down, that's going to be your Y, and that will move that number over here. As you move left and right, that's going to move the X number. So X refers to left and right, and Y refers to up and down. Below that, you also have stitches and percent. As your design is sewing, it's going to give you the stitch count that's currently sewing, and it will also tell you what percentage of the design has been sewn. Below that and to the left, you'll see in red, in this case it says 700 RPM. That's the speed the machine is set for. You can use your up arrow to change it, your down arrow to also change it. The LCD monitor part will only show up as you're sewing, so it tells you the speed that you're currently sewing at. Your machine speed will vary depending on the design that you're doing and the type of stitch that it's doing. So don't get nervous if your machine goes faster or it goes slower. It will do that on its own.